News of the human soldier and the blob princess spread across Glavin 7 like solar fire. A human-courted Princess Yulba? Has the royal family lost their senses? She accepted? Is this a joke or a strategy? From space stations to slime farms, from floating towers to underwater universities. Everyone was talking about Yulba and the human. Some laughed. Some were angry, but some were curious. Inside the royal palace, Princess Yulba sat in her chamber. Her body gently pulsed with nervous energy, and her deep violet color shimmered brighter than usual. She stared at her reflection in a hovering water mirror. Her large form floated softly in the scented air. She had been alone most of her life. But now the quiet felt different, not heavy. Just new. Suddenly the soft chime of the door rang. "Enter," she called. The door opened, and Jonah Reeves stepped inside. He wore a fresh human uniform. He carried a small gift box, no bigger than his hand. Yulba tried to hide her joy, but her glow gave her away. "Sergeant Reeve," she greeted formally. "You may approach." He chuckled. "Still so official? I'm a royal, remember?" She teased gently. Jonah smiled and bowed. "I come bearing a gift, Your Highness." He opened the box. Inside was a small carved wooden flower. Yulba tilted her head. "It's beautiful." "What is it?" "It's a rose," he said. "Made of earthwood. I carved it myself when I was a recruit." "It smells like ... campfire," Yulba said, sniffing it gently. "That's part of its charm," Jonah said. "I brought it because it's not perfect. Just like me. But it's honest." Just like this courtship, Yulba was quiet. No one had ever given her something handmade before. "Thank you, Jonah," she said. "This means more than I can say." He sat down near her floating cushion. "May I ask ... why did you say yes?" Blinked. "You really want to know?" He nodded. "Because you didn't look at me like I was broken," she said softly. "Others see my size, my failures. You saw me as someone who could still be ... wanted." Jonah was silent for a moment, then said, "You deserve that, Yulba. Everyone does." Later that day, chaos erupted inside the Imperial Council Hall. Nobles argued loudly. Royal advisors floated in circles. Holograms of news reports played in the air. Princess Yulba accepts humans' proposal. Alliance at risk. Is this love or rebellion? High General Glumok slammed his tentacle fist on the table. This human must be stopped. "Our traditions," Empress Zelda raised a hand. "Enough. He has not broken any law. But it looks bad," hissed Duke Rubble. "The galaxy is laughing at us." Emperor Glub's voice finally echoed. "Let them laugh. Only care about..." Yulba's heart gasps. "You... approve of this." Someone whispered. The Emperor gave a heavy sigh. "My daughter was invisible in her own palace. Let the human be tested, but not chased away." Meanwhile, at the Earth Embassy on Glavin 7, Jonah faced his own Storm. Ambassador Lynn stared at him in disbelief. "You propose courtship to a royal alien princess without clearing it with us?" "It wasn't a plan," Jonah said. "It was a choice. A choice that might spark political fire." Jonah stood tall. "I don't care about politics. I care about her," Ambassador groaned. "Well, it's too late now. Just ... be careful. The Blabari are proud." 2 days later, Jonah was summoned to a public trial of intention. A Blabari tradition meant to test if a suitor's feelings were real or fake. He stood in a grand arena, filled with floating Blabari royal guards, nobles, and curious citizens. Even visitors from other alien worlds hovered in the skyboxes. Yulba floated in the royal seat, nervous but glowing. 3 challenges were given. 1. The mirror of doubt. Jonah stood before a psychic mirror. It showed visions of himself failing, being mocked, being rejected. He clenched his fists. The mirror whispered, "She will never be enough. Why would you tie yourself to her?" Jonah replied aloud, "Because she made me feel human again." The mirror cracked. The crowd murmured, "Two." The dance of minds. Jonah had to match a Blabari in a slow-motion mind dance. Guided by sound, rhythm, and empathy, His opponent was Duke Grubbles Sunatal, sleek Blobari prince with psychic control. Jonah struggled it. First his human body clumsy, but then Yolba reached out mentally, sending calm through their bond. He found his rhythm. They moved as one. The prince stumbled. Jonah won. 3. The question of the heart, a simple question asked by the emperor himself. Why should we trust you with our daughter? Jonah looked up at the royal platform. Because I don't want her throne. I want her laugh, her thoughts, her dreams. I want to walk beside her, not above or below. Just beside. Silence then. A slow hum. A Blobari sign of approval. After the trial, Yolba met Jonah in the garden behind the arena. She was quiet. I didn't think you'd pass, she admitted. He laughed. Me neither. You made them see me in a new way, she said. No, Jonah replied. You made them see me in a new way. They stared at each other. For a moment, the galaxy felt small. But peace was not for long. Late that night, in the shadows of the city, a figure floated near a communication tower. He sent a secret message to an unknown world. The union is happening. Begin phase 1. The human must not survive. The sun rose gently over Glavin 7. Its twin moons faded from the sky, and the city's crystal towers sparkled with soft morning light. But not all was peaceful. Inside the royal palace, Princess Yolba floated quietly near her window. Violet body shimmered gently as she watched the gardens below. She felt happy, but nervous. Jonah Reeve was still asleep in the guest wing. Ever since the trial of intention, the people had started to look at him and at her differently. Now smiled. Others bowed. A few even whispered kind words. But not everyone was happy. Yolba could feel it. There was a cold silence behind certain doors. And last night, she heard voices outside her chamber. Strange voices. Something is coming, she thought. That same morning, Jonah stood in the palace training field. He wore a light battle suit, his human muscles moving easily under the gear. He trained with wooden poles against Blobari soldiers who floated in circles around him. He blocked, ducked, rolled, and countered. A crowd of young Blobari nobles watched him. He moves like a featherbutt, hits like a meteor, one whispered. Jonah laughed as he helped one of the soldiers up. You're too polite. I barely lasted. You lasted longer than most of us, said a voice. Jonah turned. Yolba had arrived. She was glowing warmly. The way she looked at him made him stand taller. I came to watch, she said. You came to show off your boyfriend, he teased. She blinked. Boyfriend, human word it means? The one who holds your heart? Her body shimmered with a deeper purple. Then yes, she said softly. That fits. Later that day, a message was sent to the palace from Prince Humgora, royal noble, who had once mocked Yolba during every choosing ceremony. He had been quiet ever since Jonah arrived, but now he sent a bold challenge. If this human wishes to court a royal, let him prove himself before the Empire once Marin, a public combat of honor. Yolba frowned. He's jealous. He wants to shame you. Jonah didn't blink. I'll fight, Jonah. You don't have to. No one has ever stood for you, he said. Let me be the first and the last. The combat of honor was not to the death, but it could be brutal. It tested skill, mind, courage, and teamwork. On the day of the challenge, the arena was packed. Thousands of Blobari floated above the round stadium. Visitors from other species hovered in skyships to watch. Yolba sat high in the royal viewing platform, body tense. Prince Humgor entered the field first, tall, silver, and surrounded by floating rings of energy, wore royal armor and carried twin psychic blades. Jonah walked in second. No armor, light pads and a wooden staff. Humgor laughed. You bring a stick to a royal duel? Jonah shrugged. I fight with what I trust. The gong rang. The battle began. Humgor moved like lightning, blades cutting through the air. Jonah dodged, rolled, and blocked. The Blobari crowd gasped. A human was matching royal speed, But Jonah was getting tired. The atmosphere of Glavin 7 was heavier than Earth. His movements slowed. Yulba saw this and did something bold. She reached out mentally, connecting to Jonah with a light psychic bond. Jonah, listen to me. Let me help. What do I do? Breathe with me. Move with me. Feel the rhythm. Their minds danced. He began to mirror her calm heartbeat. His body adjusted. When Humgor struck again, Jonah ducked and swept his legs. The prince fell hard. Gasps filled the air. The final move came fast. Jonah pressed his staff to Humgor's neck. Silence. Then, Cheers. The emperor stood. The challenge is complete. The human wins. Yulba felt something warm inside her chest. Jonah wasn't just her protector. He was becoming part of her world. That night, they met on the palace balcony under the stars. Yulba floated closer too. Him, you could have been hurt. Jonah shrugged. You're worth it. She lowered herself beside him. You fight like a warrior, but love like an artist. He laughed. That might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. For a while, they were quiet. Jonah, She whispered, do you ever miss Earth? Sometimes, but now, you feel like home. She slowly reached out a tendril. He gently took it in his hand. 2 different species, one emotion, but while. The palace slept, shadows moved. A dark ship landed near the eastern garden wall. 3 masked figures floated silently into the palace. They were part of a hidden noble faction, ones who believed mixing species would ruin the empire. Their target, Jonah Reeve. They slipped into his quarters, but Jonah wasn't sleeping. The sound of the door woke him. He rolled off the bed just in time to dodge a poison dart. He grabbed the wooden staff near his bed and kicked the table over. Nice of you to knock, he said. The attackers didn't speak. They moved fast. One shot acid, another used psychic blasts. Jonah ducked, rolled and countered, using the staff like a shield. He hit one attacker hard in the leg. They collapsed, but a second one grabbed him with a stun ring. Jonah fell to his knees. Then the door exploded. Yulba entered, eyes glowing bright white, surrounded by psychic energy. Get away from him. She unleashed a wave of pure mental force. The attackers screamed and flew back into the wall. Guards arrived seconds later and captured the intruders. Jonah lay on the ground, breathing hard. Yulba rushed to him. Saved me again, he whispered. We save each other, she said, glowing with power the next day. The emperor called an emergency session of the royal council. He showed the attackers' identities. 3 nobles. Cowards, now in chains. They acted out of fear, the emperor said. But fear does not lead our empire. Love will. He turned to Jonah. You have faced our traditions, our trials, and even our enemies. I now grant you official approval. Looked at Yulba. Daughter, do you still wish to accept this human as your life partner? Yulba floated forward. Yes, father, more than ever. The hall was silent. Then, for the first time in Blobari history, a human was officially engaged to royalty. The royal hall of Glavansevin had never seen such a sight. For the first time in Blobari history, humans stood beside a royal princess not as a guard, not as a guest, but as her chosen partner, Princess Yulba. Once the most ignored of her family, now floated at the center of attention. But this time, no one laughed. No one whispered cruel words. They listened. They watched. And many began to respect her, the emperor announced before the council. From this day, Princess Yulba shall take her seat in the Circle of Stars, the Royal Council of Leaders. She will serve as advisor for interspecies relations. Murmurs spread across the room. Some were surprised, some still doubted her, but most knew she had earned it. Yulba turned and looked at Jonah. His smile gave her courage. Let's show them who I really am, she whispered. That evening, 2 sat in the royal gardens under the soft light of the twin moons. The flowers around them bloomed in slow-motion, giant glowing petals opening to the stars. Jonah handed Yulba a small data device. What's this? She asked. A gift, he said. Something from Earth. She activated it. A soft human melody played a piano tune. Yulba listened quietly, her large violet eyes shimmering. It sounds ... lonely, but also full of hope. That's why I picked it, Jonah replied. It reminds me of you. We're alone, but you never gave up hope. She floated closer to him, and now, he said, I think. You're the strongest being I've ever met. They sat in silence, the song playing in the background. Their hands touched against skin to slime. And yet the connection felt perfect. The next few weeks were busy. Yulba began attending council meetings. She spoke with calm logic, deep empathy, and surprising strength. At first, other leaders didn't take her seriously. But soon, her words brought peace to an angry trade conflict and solved a problem between two minor planets. She used her psychic sleek abilities not to overpower, but to understand. Her mind could sense emotions behind every word. She listened deeply, and she spoke kindly. Jonah stayed by her side not as a ruler, but as a quiet protector. The galaxy began to watch the Blowbari Empire more closely. News reports called her the Blowbari princess who changed everything, from forgotten to fearless. For the first time, Yulba was proud to be seen, but not everyone celebrated her rise. Deep beneath the capital, in a secret chamber, a group of old nobles gathered. They had stayed silent during Yulba's rise, but now they feared her growing power. The leader of the group, High Elder Zarnix, hissed in frustration. First she embarrasses us by bonding with a human. Now she dares to join the royal council. She's changing the way the empire works, another said. Her influence is dangerous. We must act before she becomes untouchable. They began to plan one final move to ruin her image completely. A week later, the empire prepared for the Festival of Unity, a celebration of peace between species. It would be held in the Grand Crystal Plaza, with millions watching both in person and across the galaxy. Yulba was invited to give the opening speech. She had never spoken to such a large audience before. She was nervous, but Jonah stood beside her backstage. You've faced worse, he said. Nobles, challenges, assassins. But never a crowd this size, she whispered. He smiled. Then give them your heart. That's all you've ever needed. As Yulba floated onto the stage, the crowd fell silent. Cameras hovered around her. Drones buzzed overhead. Lights sparkled across the plaza. She looked nervous for only a second, and straightened her body and began. When I was small, I dreamed of being invisible, because every time I was seen, I was judged. Too round, too strange, too soft, but I was wrong to hide. Because the galaxy doesn't need more perfect shapes, it needs more honest hearts. I stand here today not just as a princess, but as someone who was once forgotten. And yet, a human soldier saw me. Not as a joke, not as a burden, but as a person. If our two species can come together in love and trust, ... then anything is possible. The crowd was silent. Then applause began soft, then louder. It grew. It spread. It became a roar. Jonah stood at the side of the stage, clapping with tears in his eyes. But from the shadows of the upper towers, someone was watching with hatred, just as the festival ended and celebrations began. A breaking news alert flashed on every screen in the city. Urgent. Secret recordings leaked. Princess Yulba, accused of using psychic control on royal council. A video played showing Yulba in a meeting, her eyes glowing as council members nodded along. Is she manipulating leaders with her mind? A voice questioned. Panic spread like wildfire. Yulba saw the screens, her glow dimmed. What is this? Jonah rushed to her. It's fake. Someone edited that footage. But the people believe it, she whispered. They'll think I'm cheating. The Emperor called an emergency investigation. The Empress was furious. Who would do this now? She asked. Jonah had a theory. Zarnix, he said. He's the only one with this kind of access. That night, Yulba was called before the High Ethics Council. The room was dark, serious, filled with ancient nobles. Princess Yulba, Do you deny using psychic power to force others to agree with you? Yes, she said. Only use my gifts to understand emotions, never to control. But the footage was altered, Jonah interrupted. I asked to speak. He held up a small device proof of the fake edit, traced to Zarnix's private server. The council watched as the truth played on the screen. Zarnix's voice was recorded, saying, "Let her fall. The people must turn on her before the wedding." Gasps. Anger, the truth saved Yulba. Zarnix was arrested. The next day, the people of Glavin 7 held a parade in Yulba's honor. She floated through the streets beside Jonah, thousands cheering. Banners flew. Music played. But more than the celebration, it was the change in their eyes that touched her most. They didn't look at her with pity anymore. They looked at her with pride. That night back in the garden, Jonah knelt before her. "You faced fire, slime, and shadows," he said, "and you still shine." He opened a small box. Inside was a silver ring, shaped like a spiral galaxy. "Will you marry me, Yulba? Not because of duty, not because of politics, but because I love you." Yulba's body glowed brighter than ever. She floated down and wrapped her tendrils around him. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times yes. The day of the wedding had arrived. Glavin 7 was alive with excitement. The streets were decorated with glowing flowers, shimmering ribbons, and floating lights that danced in the air. Across the galaxy, millions watched the historic event through. Holostreams, eager to see the union of two very different worlds. Princess Yulba stood in her royal chamber. Her violet skin glowed softly under the crystal chandeliers. Her form was round and full, wrapped in a flowing dress made from the finest shimmering silk of Glavin 7. The dress sparkled like the night sky. She looked at her reflection in the water mirror and smiled softly. For the first time in her life, she felt beautiful, not because of her shape, because of the journey that had brought her here. Jonah Reeve entered quietly, dressed in a formal human uniform. His eyes shone with pride and love. "You look amazing," he said, his voice warm. Yulba floated closer and smiled. "You look handsome, my warrior." They held hands, one soft and slimy, the other firm and warm. "Are you ready?"
Oh.
"Asked for you, always," she replied. The wedding ceremony was held in the Grand Crystal Plaza, surrounded by thousands of spectators and leaders from many species. The air buzzed with a mix of nervous energy and joy. Emperor Glub stood proudly beside his daughter. Giving his blessing, the alien choir sang strange but beautiful songs, mixing blowbari melodies with human tunes. When Jonah and Yulba floated to the center of the plaza, the crowd fell silent. A holographic priest appeared and began the ceremony. "Today we witness a union unlike any before. A bond not only of two souls, but of two species, two cultures, and two hearts." Yulba looked at Jonah. Her eyes shimmered with tears. "Jonah," she said softly, "why did you choose me?" I smiled, his voice steady. "Because you are the bravest soul I have ever met. Because you taught me that love is beyond shape or species. Because in a galaxy full of fear, you dared to believe in hope." They exchanged ring silver bands shaped like swirling galaxies. As the ceremony ended, the crowd erupted in cheers and applause. The wedding was more than a celebration. It was a message. Across the empire, the old prejudices began to fade. News. Reports told stories of their love. Schools began teaching about other species. Cultures, trade routes opened between worlds, and most importantly, humans and Blabari started to understand each other. After the ceremony, Yulba and Jonah floated away in a small starship decorated with lights and flowers. It was their wedding night voyage. Yulba looked at the stars through the glass ceiling. "Do you think we changed anything?" Jonah squeezed her hand. "I think we changed everything." They laughed softly. "I never imagined my life would lead me here," Yulba said. "Neither did I," Jonah said. "But sometimes the universe surprises us." They leaned into each other, a perfect blend of slime and skin, alien and human, and in that moment, love was the strongest force in the galaxy. Ethan Cole stood at the edge of the grand hall, his palms sweating inside his white gloves. He tugged nervously at the collar of his suit and looked up at the towering golden doors in front of him. Behind those doors stood one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, the Queen of the Gerectile Empire, and Ethan was about to meet her. He took a deep breath and checked the small silver device on his wrist for the third time. It was Earth's latest creation, okay? A prototype translator that could automatically convert any spoken language into the listener's native tongue. It had worked perfectly during testing. "Mostly Ethan Cole," said the assistant next to him. "Short alien with shimmering blue skin. The Queen awaits. You may now enter." The doors opened with a low hum, revealing a massive chamber lined with pillars of violet crystal. Dozens of alien nobles stood on both sides, wearing colorful robes and golden armor. At the far end, seated on a throne made of glowing stone, was the Queen herself. She was tall at least 8 feet, and wore a long, dark cape covered in tiny stars that moved as if alive. Her skin was deep red, her hair silver and coiled like metal wires. Her 4 eyes locked on Ethan the moment he stepped forward. He gulped. "Human representative from Earth," the assistant announced loudly. "Ethan Cole, linguist and envoy." Ethan walked forward slowly, his legs stiff, his heart racing. The nobles whispered in strange alien tongues, some amused, some unimpressed. Ethan reached the platform where the Queen sat, dropped to one knee, and tapped the translator device. He cleared his throat and spoke carefully. "It is an honor to meet you, Your Majesty." The translator beeped once. Then, loudly and clearly, it said in the Queen's language, "Your wig looks like a dead starfish." The hall fell into stunned silence. Ethan blinked. Did it say what he thought it said? He looked up slowly. The Queen hadn't moved. The nobles were frozen, some with mouths open. One alien dropped his glass. Oh no. Ethan panicked and pressed the device again. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here," he said quickly. The translator chirped again and said, "I enjoy the scent of spoiled milk, just like your throne room." Gasps erupted across the hall. A noble near the front started coughing violently, trying not to laugh. Another alien put a hand over their mouth. Ethan froze. His face turned pale. His brain screamed, "Why? Why now?" The Queen finally rose from her throne. She stepped down the stairs slowly, her eyes never leaving him. The room was dead quiet. Ethan stood, not sure if he should bow again or just run. She stopped just inches away from him. Then she laughed. Not just a small chuckle, but a loud, deep, going laugh that filled the hall. The nobles looked at each other, confused. "She finds it funny," someone whispered. She laughed. Another. The Queen wiped a tear from her eye and leaned slightly toward Ethan. "You have courage, Earthling," she said in perfect English. "To greet me with insult is a bold custom. I approve." Ethan blinked. "What? You mock me with humor." "I like that," the Queen said. "My own nobles feared a joke in my presence. But you compare my hair to a starfish carcass." She let out another laugh. "Very Earth. Very brave." Ethan blinked again. "Wait, so you're not angry?" The Queen's 4 eyes sparkled. "Angry? No? Amused? Very?" Shh, she turned to the crowd. "Let it be known that Earth sends jesters instead of warriors." "I like this world already." Cheer rose from the nobles, now laughing and clapping. Some slapped Ethan on the back. One of them leaned over and said, "Your translator is a genius. I must get one." Ethan tried to smile, still confused, still sweating. Behind him, the Earth's diplomatic team stood with mouths open, frozen in terror. One technician held his head in both hands and whispered, "That was not the code we uploaded, ... The Queen raised one hand, and the hall went silent again. She looked at Ethan with interest. "Tell me, Ethan of Earth, do all humans speak this way? Or are you unique?" Ethan gave a weak smile. Yes, no, I'm probably just broken." The Queen laughed again. "Good. Then I shall keep you close." "Keep me close?" "Yes," she said. "Tomorrow, I host the Grand Galactic Ball. All noble houses shall attend. I want you there, as my guest. Speak as you did today. I expect more entertainment. Ethan nodded slowly. I would be honored. She waved her hand. You may go now, but prepare yourself. Directal humor is sharp. And you, Earthling, have started strong. As Ethan backed away and exited the hall, the translator buzzed softly on his wrist. A new message blinked on the screen. Firmware update failed. Emergency sarcasm mode activated. Ethan stared at it. Oh great, he muttered. Now I'm a galactic clown. Behind him, the Queen smiled, already curious to see what the strange human would say next.